Hello friends, I am Akash, and this is your News of the Week for the week of March 20th to March 26th, 2022. I'm Akash Cody, and let's get right into our stories. And we begin with the fact that the tide is turning in the Kyiv capital area of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. As it turns out, Russia seems to have shifted in this area from the offensive to the defensive. And as well as this, apparently it seems that Ukraine is going on the counterattack. But Russia has just announced that stage 1 of its operation in Ukraine has been completed. And they said that stage 2 is mostly going to be focused on taking over cities in the east by land. So this is the plan for Russia for this point onwards for quite a while. Now, as well as this, it turns out that Ukraine seems to have partially recaptured the city of Kherson, which is one of the first cities that Russia took over early in this war, which means that Ukraine might be making a comeback. But now it's time to move on to the bad news, and that bad news comes in Mariupol. This is the city in southeast Ukraine, which has served as the single largest stronghold for Ukraine in the area, because almost the entirety of it has been taken over by Russia. Mariupol is the last stand for Ukraine in this area. The siege has been going on for a few weeks at this point, and as it turned out, just last week there was a massive strike that took place at a drama theater in Mariupol where hundreds, if not over 1,000 people were hiding from the Russian army. And so this strike pretty much wrecked the entire thing. And although it was originally determined that there were no deaths, things changed rapidly. And so it's now that we can confirm that there were actually 300 deaths as a result of the strike that occurred. 600 survivors were found alive, but this current situation is absolutely disastrous. This is basically the ruthless killing of hundreds of civilians hiding from war. And the fact that this happened is absolutely heinous. But this is what Russia's been doing, and this is one of the largest scenes of terror, you can say, that has happened in this area. So now let's take a look at the international reaction, and this is where we go to our second story of the week, which is regarding the fact that President Biden is currently on a trip in Europe. The first reasoning why he's there is because of the important NATO's international emergency summits in the city of Brussels, the capital of Belgium. And these are emergency summits that are taking place because of the war in Ukraine. Now, President Biden stated that he supports the removal of Russia from G20, the group of 20 economically developed countries. And although back in 2014, Russia was kicked out of the G8, group of 8, now becoming the group of 7, and that was because of Crimea, now it seems that this might be a little bit harder, as there are way more countries in the G20 than in the G8, and as a result, there's going to be a few countries that, if not support Russia, are just going to abstain. And so this is the situation. Some people find it unlikely, other people find it likely. But this is the thing, this is the sentiment that President Biden was bringing along. He also stated that Putin was getting the exact opposite of what he originally intended with this war. And this means we're taking a look at the unity of Western countries in solidarity with Ukraine against Russia. Now, as well as this, we're seeing the fact that President Biden said that should Russia unleash chemical weapons upon Ukraine, then America will be forced to respond. Although President Biden didn't have any mention of how likely such an attack was. But given the fact he mentioned it, we might see it sometime. And if it does happen, then boy, will things get so much worse. Now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky actually gave a virtual speech at this summit, where he said that just 1% of the NATO members' military equipment would be all enough for Ukraine to succeed against Russia in the war. So this is the thing that Volodymyr Zelensky was saying during his virtual speech to NATO. And so we'll take a look at the other things that has been going on with President Biden as the United States introduces new sanctions on members of the Russian State Duma, which is the basically parliament. So you have members of the Russian government as well as leaders of Russian state-backed corporations like Gazprom. So these are being affected currently by what's been going on and by the sanctions that have been taking place since a few days ago this week. And so those are your new sanctions. And meanwhile, we're seeing NATO response forces continuing to rally behind Ukraine as they reach the border, ready to join in the war during its worst. Now, as well as this, President Biden has gone over to Poland during his trip to Europe, and this way he's going to take a look at the Ukrainian refugee crisis because Poland is taking the brunt of it. Now, we're currently seeing 3.7 million refugees from Ukraine who have escaped to bordering countries, the majority of which have gone to Poland. And so that's why President Biden decided he was going to visit Poland, in fact, the city of Rzeszów, where the border of Ukraine is very close by. And so this is what he had to say. He said that the stakes of this war will reflect on the future of democracy as a whole, asking whether the current situation of democracy will prevail or whether it's going to fail against the authoritarian governments like that of Russia's. And so, as well as this, he praised the soldiers of Ukraine and said that they are fighting for the future of their country. So this is what President Biden had to say at the Rzeszów near the border with Ukraine and Poland. So this is what President Biden had to say regarding that. And that is what's been going on with President Biden's trip to Europe during this time. So let's take a look at our next story of the week, which is North Korea officially firing its first intercontinental ballistic missile tests in 4 years. It's called Hwasong-17. Now, Hwasong-17 is one of the largest missiles that North Korea has created in quite some time. And it seems that they have made some large improvements over the past 4 years leading up to this moment, as they tried their best to deter the United States and its allies from ever coming close to them. So these missiles have landed in the Sea of Japan or East Sea. This is the sea that's west of Japan and east of Korea. And so the reasoning why these land here is in preparation for whenever North Korea decides that they're going to try and launch some strikes towards Japan, which is one of their main enemy countries. So the fact that they're already getting that far, and that, if anything, it appears that North Korean technology is coming close to reaching the mainland USA, I mean, you can see how much of a danger North Korea could become to the United States, Japan, and South Korea, and many other allied countries who are going against North Korea in this war of politics. And so the situation with North Korea is really just continuing to only get worse. And so that is why America has decided that the response is going to come in the form of restricting even more tighter sanctions through the United Nations Security Council on North Korea. So this is what America put through there, although out of all of those countries, it's very likely that China and Russia, being North Korea's dear friends, are most assuredly going to be vetoing them. So this is the plan that America has been laying out. And if it doesn't work, then maybe they might try seeing what happens if they throw it in the General Assembly instead, or if they just launch their own solo sanctions against North Korea, like the ones that they've done in the past time and time again. So that's what's been going on with the North Korea intercontinental ballistic missile tests this week. So let's take a look at our final story of the week, which is an update on coronavirus. 1.6 million cases per day. That is down from 1.8 million we've been seeing in previous weeks. 33,000 cases of which are from the United States. And if we take a look at the deaths, they just continue to go down and down and down. 8,000 deaths per day with, can you believe this, just 800 deaths in the United States, which is the lowest that we have had since the beginning of this whole pandemic. So we are making some great progress, and either that or just COVID-19 is slowly becoming less and less. So let's take a look at the main reason why these cases have been going on and an uptick over the past few weeks until now. And it's because of the large uptick in cases in East Asia, specifically China and South Korea. South Korea has been seeing like 600,000 cases, 500,000 cases for the past few weeks, as that has been a result of the rising cases that have been coming up and up and up since the beginning of this year, back in the third week of January. And so that's why now what we are seeing is South Korea at 300,000 cases per day, which is something that has never really been seen. It's the highest in South Korea so far. But it seems that this is actually down from the 400,000 we were seeing just last week. And this is some pretty good confirmation that South Korea might be on track to try and beat out COVID-19, as this is the exact question that South Korea posed. When are these cases going to go down? And the prediction was that they'd go down after they peaked at 400,000 cases. And right now, it's been 1 week, and that seems to be the case. So Korea's prediction may as well have been correct all this time. But even with this, we're still seeing cases really, really high up. And this is just the first week. Cases may just randomly go up again. So right now we're hoping for the best and that Korea just doesn't get any more big waves that we're seeing so far. And the good thing is that if we take a look at the deaths, they're at an amazing level. Like, can you believe this? We are at 300 deaths in South Korea. That's right, just 300 deaths per day. That is the lowest of literally every single country in the world right now. And South Korea's is pretty much the lowest, which is absolutely incredible that a country with over 400,000 cases per day has only 300 deaths per day. But then again, it seems that these cases and deaths have been tied together for quite some while, and that 300 deaths is kind of a lot for the time being. But we're all hoping that, for the time being, these cases will continue to go down and down and down like it's been going for quite a while. Meanwhile, we're seeing China having 2,000 cases per day, which, they usually have reported double-digit cases instead of triple-digit, never even mind 4-digit cases in the past. So now we're seeing 2,000 cases, and well, China's kind of gone insane. So for the time being, there have been a lot of lockdowns because of China's zero COVID policy. But it may backfire because of the economy. The economy may as well be going down and down and down the more cases we're seeing in China. But right now, things are going smoothly. But this caution was made clear by the Chinese government, and that's why cities like Shanghai didn't go under lockdown this time around, and that is because they don't want the economy to plummet alongside COVID-19 going up. However, there have been many other large cities that have gone under lockdown for the time being, and that's the situation that China has been going on for quite a while. So China's basically hoping that the current situation will be flattening over time and that their zero COVID policy will work once more, making COVID-19 once again a thing of the past for China. And that's all of your news of the week for the week of March 20th to March 26th, 2022. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in another News of the Week. Goodbye.